Welcome to the Soul Call with Kelly B. I'm Kelly Butchart, soul medicine woman, energy alchemist, intuitive guide and change maker. I'm here to activate soul remembrance, unlock purpose, and support the personal and collective evolution into sacred sovereignty. This podcast is a space for heart-led women to rise, to take their power back, to walk in truth and live elevated lives of joy, abundance and deep fulfillment. Through powerful conversations with visionaries, way-showers and spiritual leaders, we weave ancient wisdom, quantum healing and divine insight to awaken something within your soul. This is more than a podcast, it's a movement. And remembering, this is the Soul Call. All of my offerings, social links and ways to connect are in the show notes below each episode. Be sure to check them out. I'd love to meet you there. And please remember to like, subscribe and share. Thank you for being here. Hi everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Soul Call with me, Kelly B. And I am absolutely delighted to welcome my featured guest today, Tim Wilde. I would love, Tim, if you could please introduce yourself, tell us what part of the world you're in and what it is that you do.
Oh, bless you, Kelly. Well, thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here this morning. Thank you for inviting me on. Well, I am based in the southern parts of the UK. I'm in Dorset, right on the south coast, where there's currently like quite an explosion of kind of light worker communities kind of springing up. And I work in the Ascension field. I've been doing what I'm doing now for roughly a decade, coming up for a decade. I work with the Ascension process. I work with crystals, work with Atlantis, what's coming in. But one of my favorite parts of the job that I've been doing is identifying the teachers and assisting people to step up. So there's all different things going on, but primarily I'm here to assist with the Ascension process.
What a beautiful introduction. Tim, we had a very brief chat before we came and press record here. What I didn't share with you is that I did mention that a couple of years ago I had a regular job. I worked in education for 22 years, latterly as a head teacher. And alongside that career, I was developing spiritually, sitting in circle, going to workshops. But there were a few people that I found on YouTube and on social media, and especially over the last few years, who my heart just completely resonated with. And you were one of those people. So without us ever connecting, I have followed your work avidly for a number of years. And I know that you had done you still do some amazing collaborations with incredible people. We'll maybe mention some of those just in a wee minute. But Diana Cooper was one of those souls who really helped me initially on my journey. And I did some training with one of her teachers.
Okay.
A beautiful soul, also in Scotland, Elizabeth. And I did consider training in the Diana Cooper School at one time. However, work and career took over. But I have followed your work for a long time. And when I stepped away from a job 2 years ago, I thought, right, I'm going to take the bull by the horns and I'm just going to be really brave and take that leap of faith. And off I go. I'm leaving the security of a salary behind, and all my friends thought I'd lost my mind. I made that jump and I started to do my intuitive readings and my healings full time. And it's been the most incredible journey. And so I signed up. I really didn't know what I was doing. And I signed up to work with a business coach. And 2 years ago, she asked us to do a vision board and to put down what your dreams are, what your real dreams are, and to think really, really big and out of the box. And where I come from, there is no box. So I had put down on my little electronic vision board, Tim Wilde. I put down, I'm going to do a collaboration with Tim Wilde. And here we are 2 years later. And I'm like, I had no idea. I was going to do a podcast. and B, be sitting here like this in conversation with you. So I just wanted to mention that, Tim, because without sounding really, you know, a bit about it, because I don't want, you would never want people to put you on a pedestal or, you know, have guru status or anything like that. You're the most humble, loving, grounded man. So, but I didn't want to not acknowledge that and how much this means to me to have you on here, because I know how busy you are, doing all these amazing, amazing collaborations and of course your own work. So thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. That's really, really sweet of you. And this kind of ties in exactly with what I was just saying about kind of assisting people to be teachers, to step up, because you've made what I would regard one of the toughest jumps. Like you said, you're in education for 22 years. That's a good percentage of kind of like your incarnation dedicated to one thing. It's secure, you know where you are with it, but running in the background is becoming an increasingly powerful pull to do what your soul calling is requiring you to do. That step is massive. And I've seen people over the years make this step, but it all varies on the personal confidence and resistance, and you know, to leave your financial security and step into something which may or may not work, all depending on what part of your pathway you're following as far as your head's concerned. Then that's so brave, that's massive. So well done for doing that, and to have been able to assist you in any way to make that step is what it's all about, basically.
Oh, you sure have. You sure have. You've had a huge impression on me in so many ways, because I now describe myself as no longer being a head teacher, but a heart teacher.
Perfect.
And you're all about the heart.
Yeah.
And so you've written books, you hold workshops, retreats, you do beautiful collaborations with souls like Lavisa, Mia Kafkios, your friend David Emery. You're a very busy man.
It's got incredibly busy the last year or two. It's the collaborations are kind of where the energy's been taking us at the moment. I think I think a lot more of us were isolated in the first decade of this shift. If we're looking at it on a 20-year shift from 3D to 5D, from 2012 to you know, like 2 decades and down the roads from the cosmic moment, we're exactly halfway through at the moment. We're at the halfway point. So the first decade was about us identifying ourselves, identifying others, doing the personal work. You will have your own personal story where you made the transition from head teacher to heart teacher. I love that, by the way. I think that's really cool. My mother was a head teacher. She was she was head teacher of multiple primary schools in Dorset, and eventually became a terrifying Ofsted inspector. One of the most feared women in Dorset.
I love that. I love that. And I love how there's always these beautiful synchronicities. And so here you are, you know, you are what I would call an ascension specialist. You know, you are a teacher of the heart. And, you know, I'm just so grateful that we're finding all these amazing connections. We are finding each other. And I talked about the silver lining in the COVID cloud several times. And, you know, we know it was all a bit of a shit show. However, there has
been palaver, wasn't that?
Right, palaver, but there's been such beautiful things come of that as well. It has been a really, I love how you talk about a defibrillator to the heart as well, because I've been talking about that to my clients too. I really have. And then when I heard you talk about it, I was like,
if you haven't had it already, the August defibrillator is charging up at the moment. So it's, you know,
portal ahead.
make sure you've got all your buttons undone. Whack, it's coming in, sort of thing.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that's what I'm feeling is intensifying as well. It's like the acceleration that we're in to really, jumpstart us back into remembering and reawakening the
Yeah.
heart consciousness that's held within us all. So yeah, I'm going to journey back in time a little bit. We'll maybe go further back and further back and further back as this conversation goes, Tim. But your Friday Ascension updates kept me going. I cannot tell you how much over the last few years. They really helped to keep me grounded and sane. And you now call those your Woodland Chronicles as well. And I just love them. So if anybody hasn't checked those out yet, you give so much generous wealth of wisdom and information so that people don't run around feeling like they've lost their heads. And so please check those out. They're free. They're on YouTube. They're available for everybody, and I'll drop the links below.
Oh, thank you.
And I must give a wee shout out to Roger, because I miss Roger.
Oh yeah, my beloved chicken. He was he had a brief time on this planet, didn't he? It's like I was talking to my youngest the other day how he didn't see a full year, but boy was he noisy.
Do you know what I loved about Roger? And I kid you not, because I've since discovered that there's so much symbolism in, well, we know about totem animals, but so much symbolism with roosters and cockerels,
Yeah.
which has kind of blown my mind a bit, because it keeps coming up. So I just wanted to give a wee nod to Roger, because he, for me, was a bit of a defibrillator. I know this sounds crazy, but it can be a bit of, we were talking before I press record, you know, we've both got dogs, and it's like, you know, I had to get my husband to come and take the dog away before we press record because she was quite noisy today.
Yeah.
But what I love is, and this was Roger, he just proudly called out his voice, spoke his truth,
Whenever he felt like
unashamedly.
it.
He was unashamedly Roger. And I thought, do you know, there's a lot we can learn from the animal kingdom,
Yeah.
because so many of us have held ourselves back and hidden our voices away and hidden
We
behind the
have.
curtains. And
We
yeah,
have. I mean, he was abnormally cockadoodly, wasn't he? I mean, you'd
he's
hear him going all
awesome.
day. My favourite one is he used to attack the DPD man. So there's just one person that he took a particular like umbrage with, and one day, okay, I just heard all this shouting, and I opened the curtain. He's like actually hanging off his trouser leg. It was so
My
funny.
word. Hilarious.
So he's a
What a
proper cockerel,
legend.
like
What a
yeah,
legend.
bless him.
Oh, I love that. So yeah, collaborations all around, including Roger. Let's go further back in time.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Atlantean times,
Mm.
because you describe yourself very much as a teacher of Atlantis, and that's one of your real specialisms, if you like. Would you like to just share with us what, if anybody doesn't really know, I mean, of course, everybody will have heard of Atlantis, but how would you, in your own words, describe that frequency of Atlantis, Tim, and what we really should know about it?
It's Atlantis held many frequencies over kind of what we would consider quite a wide period of time. I mean, there was the entire Atlantean experiment existed for 260,000 years. So it took 10,000 years to set up and kind of like basically call in the primary souls, the 144,000. And then it rose and fell 5 times. And the whole purpose of this kind of like, you know, sealed off from the rest of the world kind of experiment was to achieve a 5th dimensional heart-centered ascension vibration and society on a 3rd dimensional planet. Now at the time I don't think many of us who were working there really knew exactly what it was for. But we had an idea. But ultimately what happened is we hit the target for 1,500 years in the 5th and the final experiment. Now this wasn't that long ago. We're talking about 12,000 years ago this occurred. So 1,500 years, which again in human terms is a long period of time. So this society, it flourished, it gained the most incredible healing technology. The entire community, or the continent itself, was totally in harmony with the planet, with each other, with the animals. The entire thing was a vision board of perfection to a degree. And during that period of time, the Atlantean priesthood stored or took a record of all of the achievements, all of the things that worked, all of the technology, but particularly the healing techniques, the how to power a continent, without taking and being able to give back, using crystal technology from the stars, interactions with the angelics, the dragons, the unicorns. Everything was kind of just the perfect package, but it couldn't last. It had to fall. So it fell 10,000 years ago. And that's what most people remember when they wake up and they identify with their Atlantean aspect or their pathway, or that is meant to be part of their ascension process. They remember the fall. Now, I saw a lot of this in 2014, 2015. It was really coming through to me very strongly. I was kind of reconnecting on a big level. So naturally, I met Atlantean after traumatized Atlantean. Now, everybody was just immersed in the fall at this point. It's like, oh my God, I remember being there. This happened, that happened. It was awful. And all of us carry, in fact, everybody on this planet carries it. The rocks carry it, the trees carry it, the shock wave that went out of the fall. So we've carried that trauma for 10,000 years. And so that's what we're clearing at the moment. We're still technically kind of getting over the Atlantean experiment. At the fall, it took 10,000 years to basically deconstruct the experiment. And that finished on the cosmic moment, the 21st of December 2012. So that date, which is only 10 years ago, was the end of the Atlantean experiment. And then we moved into the window that we're in now. So for 1,500 years, the Atlanteans held this ascension frequency, ascension in a physical body, functioning from their hearts. And that created what we call a gold print, like a map of how to live. And that was stored away. It was put away at a high frequency, stored in crystals, in the halls of Amenti, in kind of what we might regard, like kind of loosely as an iCloud of spiritual information in various places.
To describe it,
and we're in the process of unlocking that at the moment. Where this is being returned to us, and it's being done so on a free it's under frequency release. So as you and I and all of the other light workers who are tuned into this frequency achieve a higher vibration, we move more into our heart centers, we recover this kind of lost golden information. And it's starting to become less of a trickle now and more of a flow, a steady flow. And it's going to turn from a steady flow into a deluge of information. And each of us hold the keys for it. And so our entire map for future living on this planet is based on the Atlantean community gold print. So Atlantis and where we are now are they're just so tied together. And on kind of the more kind of 3D side, the souls that created the fall of Atlantis are still in power today. They've just kind of gone on from incarnation to incarnation, or maybe not even passed over at all. And so the situations and the scenarios and the kind of the distribution of power are still what we are witnessing in society around us today. It's quite incredible, really.
It has been incredible, because it's almost like we hear people talking about the veil getting thinner. It's like they can't hide anymore, because frequency has risen to a point where what was hidden, the light's now shining on all of that to be seen, and it needs to be seen in order to be healed and loved and brought back into harmony.
Not comfy though for a lot of people.
No, it's not.
I think, and particularly I'm witnessing a lot of wake-ups at a moment that it could be kind of classed, and I'm sure you are as well. They could be kind of classed as shock wake-ups, like, bang, I've seen this. It can no longer be ignored. Wow. And the veil just drops. And that's where where you and I and all of the others who are on the teaching leading pathway have to kick into action pretty quickly to kind of make sure that those souls aren't kind of consumed by righteous anger and like the kind of we always must honor our emotions, but to be invested into creating at that level is a problem. So that's when we kind of like start to, okay, we'll deal with this, we'll clear it, it happened, but we're going to move on.
Yeah,
that's very much where we are.
I love how you've touched on that, Tim, because I think that's a really, really important point. It's we all hold shadow within ourselves because we've had all of these experiences with light and dark through all these times and timelines and dimensions. And when we come from a place of compassion and not judgment, that's the beautiful frequency then to create, because I'm now, I spent maybe a couple of years being really angry there because I was so shocked by the state of the world. I was really frustrated because other people couldn't see what was unfolding and what was so obvious to me. And I suppose there was a lot of ego investment there for me. So that's been a journey that I've had to learn to come back to love and compassion and not from a place of judgment with all of this, because otherwise we're not going to create from a place of love.
No.
We can't create beauty and harmony on this planet from a lower frequency. And that was part of the fall of Atlantis, when we started to fall in love with power rather than love.
It's exactly what did it. And if you look at, I'm finding it particularly interesting. I mean, the last 3 years have been an absolute blessing. They might have been extremely uncomfortable, but look where we are. After 3 years of this transition, there is an absolute, it reminds me of the X-Men when they went into the kind of the chamber, and all of the lights are springing on from the souls that are being identified. You know, we've gone from little isolated clusters to an absolute sea of awakened people, and each second that passes, more lights are flicking on. And I totally resonate with what you're saying about the kind of, this is why I mentioned righteous anger. People are like, that is so unjust. How can that possibly be allowed to exist? But that was the fabric of our learning platform in 3D. And we all participated in it. We were all plugged into it. All of us were born into 3D, unless you're listening to this and you're under 10 years old, sort of thing, which is not very likely, let's face it. So we were all born into this learning school matrix, which was like, the reason why it was set up in the first place is that Source wished to understand how high frequency beings in a body, us, the soul personality, would respond when we are disconnected from Source, and had our abilities to connect reduced. And it's been very interesting. It's been very telling. But now we're coming out of it again. A lot of the people that have kind of been really, really kind of like here over and over and again, they're finding it very difficult to break free. That very deep hypnosis that you needed to be in to survive 3D is quite difficult to unprogram, quite difficult to unravel. But what's really interesting at the moment, I'm loving watching it as well, is that people that you and I would have maybe gone, oh, you'll never wake up, oh my God, sort of thing, you're just so asleep, 2 years ago, all of a sudden, bang, they're awake, and we're like, what? And it's that is such a beautiful 2023 thing. 2023 has been the year of surprises so far, because there's people springing awake that we might have written off. Again, just a little hint of ego, maybe, thinking that they're never going to see. And all of a sudden, bang, they're on it.
Yeah, it's been so exciting to see that. And for me, what has proven to me, not proven, maybe that's the wrong word to choose, but it's shown me how important the body is, because the body holds the score. And deep in our cellular memory and hidden within our DNA is this memory. So it's in the subconscious, it's in the DNA. So our mind can't necessarily comprehend the holographic reality that's mirrored in our experience. But there is so much communication going on below the surface, so to speak, that we are maybe not completely aware of. And we have been reduced down to 2 strands of DNA. And here we are, you talked about that gold print where we're starting to reactivate, we're starting to remember through our deep cellular memory, even though our mind can't comprehend all, who we really are. And it's like, it's almost like we've came back from the future, so to speak. We know that time is not non-linear, but we've come back from the future and we've left ourselves breadcrumbs of remembrance. And when you mentioned the X-Men there, I love that, because I used to really think that science fiction was science fiction. And over the last few years, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, that movie, there was a lot of truth in that. That novel, there was so much truth in that. So it's always like we've time traveled to leave these breadcrumbs to awaken the cells, awaken the DNA, to reactivate, we've been quite clever to remind ourselves of who we truly are, where we come from, and really what our mission here is, what our divine mission is. What's been your experience of that, Tim? With
exactly as you describe it. I mean, this trail of breadcrumbs it's impeccably laid, and we've known on a soul level that now is going to happen, obviously, since it all kicked off, since time began, kind of thing. And we've always known within our structure, this human structure, the soul personality that we're representing our monads in at the moment, we've known all along this is going to occur. And everything that we use or encounter that triggers that, or the trail of breadcrumbs, has been specifically encoded for us to respond to when we hit a certain vibration. So it's like a little bit like a very clever microwave that just turns up over a period of time, and as we kind of like hit stages of being cooked, like everything kind of opens up, and it's a magical process. It could only have been planned meticulously. There is nothing random that is going on around us, nothing that's occurred. I mean, particularly we had to experience the whole palaver of lockdowns and everything like that in that way, because if we didn't, there would be only a fraction of the people awake that there are now. Life would have just continued as it was. Something drastic needed to happen to shake people out of their hypnosis. And I'm pretty sure that there's going to be waves of other things that come through that really shake people awake. But it's that was why it was like the grand flash. And just before it occurred in the February 2020, I saw a very specific pulse of light, or a beacon, going out from the navel chakra. And when it occurred, I was told that this is what's going to kind of shake everything up. This is going to change the world. And I'm like, how are we going to actually achieve this? Because by that point, I was beginning to get a little bit frustrated. It had been from 2012 to 2019, anchoring light, self-improvement, ascension, light going here, this occurring, that occurring, but we weren't actually really seeing any structural change. And then bang, what happens? It all kicks off.
It's all divine order, isn't it? And I love how you're talking about the navel. There's been a lot coming through to me about the navel as well, and the umbilical cord, and the weaving, the gold and silver threading of. I had a beautiful experience just the other night. It was really wonderful in a rose temple. It was just so beautiful. But it's that weaving together what I call the Holy Cosmic Mother and the Holy Cosmic Father within. And that trinity of the Holy Cosmic Child as well.
That's
It's
gorgeous,
bringing it all into union within, which is so fabulous. So I've got so many things I want to ask you, Tim, because my mind is going everywhere just now. It's so, and I'm conscious of time as well. So crystals have featured hugely in your life, and crystal skulls and crystal anks, and you spoke about the
Raphael.
technologies. Oh, it's a beauty.
Gorgeous, goes everywhere with me, that crystal skull.
Oh, is that a smoky quartz?
That is a very, very light smoky quartz. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So he's
Wow.
I wish the light was a bit better because he gets pretty shiny. He's like, yeah, I'm not looking my best at the moment.
Gorgeous. I've got a little tiny one here, a little flower agate one. It's my
Oh
only
wow.
skull that I
Oh
have, and
really?
I just love her.
Yeah.
So, crystalline technologies,
Mm.
that was very much how I know that Atlantis operated on, and we had
Yeah.
free technologies. And of course, we'll maybe not dip into how they were abused, but let's talk about the positives of going forward, how we can create through crystalline technologies, not just out with, but also within us,
Yeah.
and how our DNA is changing, it's upgrading, how we're moving from carbon-based DNA to crystalline and more silica that we're holding. I'd love for you just to share a little bit about what you feel is going on there and how we're changing.
At this present moment in time, we are navigating an aspect of the ascension process, which is it's calling to us to be physical. So in many ways, I regard the process or the term becoming crystalline almost like a reference to how we treat ourselves, because
Yeah,
in order to become kind of much more in line with the fifth dimensional vibration, we have to change everything about what we do, how we treat ourselves. It all kind of wraps up in the kind of the core component of self-love, but it's diet, it's drink, it's exercise, it's thought, it's speech, it's everything about us has to purify. As many of you listening to this will probably be able to recall, at some point you will be going through periods of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual purification. Most of the time, it's not very comfortable, but we're kind of getting used to that ride now. So we are on a process of like deep self-improvement, becoming crystalline, purification. And I think the shift from carbon to crystalline as a life form will happen a little bit further down the road, when we're kind of like our mission at the moment, from what I've received, is to anchor this ascension process in, become physical human beings operating at a vibration of 5D. And then from that point onwards, the kind of the world is our oyster. We can go wherever we want with it. But the most important thing that I can see that's happening at the moment is to learn how to manage the physical unit that we're given, because so many of us have mismanaged it. And we do it simply because that's how our school has been set up, hasn't it?
yeah,
It's everything bad has been available to us, and we like go out and indulge, do it on a
yeah.
daily basis. And
Absolutely, absolutely. All the toxicity that's
yeah,
everywhere. And
yeah,
I love how you're talking about the purification of that. And, we're the ground crew. We've signed up for the gig to come in,
yeah,
boots on the ground, or bare feet on the ground, I should say. And I think anchoring in these frequencies into the crystalline grid,
mm,
connecting our fractal lines, those little lights coming on all around the world,
yeah,
is so crucially important. And like you say, we are what I describe as angelic humans. We're
yeah,
angelic humans, and we are multidimensional beings, and we'll have lots of different stations of identity
yeah,
within us. But this is the hardest job, I feel, is like to stay grounded with it all, because when you go, whether it's through meditation or other experiences, when you go to these really high frequencies, it's like, oh, so
yeah.
grounding it in it's really difficult. It's
It
really
really
difficult.
is. It really is. And I think many of us have underestimated just how tough, or we kind of take for granted a little bit how difficult life in a human body has been set up to be. I mean, we're on Earth. Earth School's the toughest place in the cosmos to learn and make spiritual progress. And what makes me laugh is how quickly we've decided to make this jump from 3D to 5D. 20 years, okay? So we've decided to do that in 20 Earth years. If you look at a spiritual civilization like the Syrians, okay, they went through a similar, but not identical, a similar process to us a long, long time ago. And they took 300 years to move through what we're going through. If you measured it in Earth years, it was about, I got told it was about 300 years. So they had a lot longer to play with over this transitional period of time. We're doing it in 20 years. So I think we must have all been sat around the soul table with our guides and the Intergalactic Council 6 pints in or something when we agreed to do this, because it's not the kind of thing you would readily agree to if you knew just how intensive things are down here. And so we overlook the strain that is being placed upon ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually at the moment, because it's almost like running at marathon pace continuously without a break in order to keep up with the speed of the process that we are encountering. But we're doing really well. We're 25% ahead of the kind of like, the most pessimistic of predictions. So it's going good. We're doing well.
And this is what I love as well, Tim, because for those of us that are boots on the ground doing this work, we're all saying the same thing because we're all feeling the same thing. So you're just confirming everything that I know to be true. And I know that I used to love, I really miss my sleep now. I'm not getting much these days.
You're not?
I just feel so busy in the astral as well. And you touched on these higher councils of light and what's becoming, I suppose, more and more not available to me, but it's coming more into my conscious awareness of how there are aspects of my multidimensionality that I'm connecting with, and I'm having many more experiences of sitting in councils of light. Now, my friends, thankfully I don't think any of them listen to this or watch my
I'd laugh
podcast,
if they do.
She has lost her mind.
Yeah.
I would love for you just to speak into a little bit more about your multidimensional self, Tim, and what you're comfortable to share, because I know that we've touched on Atlantis, and I know that you have an awareness of Merlin as a guide working with you. But if I just share very briefly, a couple of years ago, I was sitting, I think here actually,
Yeah.
I had this awareness of, I feel my guides have changed. I'm not sure I'm still connecting with the same guides. What's going on here? And so I got my pendulum out and I asked the pendulum, my crystal pendulum, to tell me who my guide was, because I couldn't sense them in the same way. And it spelled out the name Prail. And I thought, that's quite an odd name.
Yeah.
Put the pendulum away and I thought, So I looked it up, as you
Right.
do. Let's watch what Braille means. And it means higher self, soul self. And that really surprised me.
Okay.
I sat with it and I tuned in and I thought, that makes perfect sense, that actually my higher self, I'm working through the portal, the gateway of my heart. I'm connecting up to source, connecting to Mother Earth. And I'm connecting, I'm getting to know these higher stations of identity of who I am. And from that point, a couple of years ago, I have become more and more aware of these different aspects of my soul experience. So I would love for you to talk into what you've learned about your multidimensional self.
It's been quite a ride actually, Kelly, because I think it was in 2008 that I had my first kind of major experience that put me on this pathway. And it was when Archangel Michael kind of rocked up in my bedroom while I was meditating. Kind of my whole of my third eye turned blue, and I was like, I don't often see things. I'm very clairsentient. I'm very I know I'm claircognizant kind of thing. So it's all done on knowledge and feel. That's strong inner guidance. So this big blue light was kind of in my third eye, and Archangel Michael was there, and he gave me the blue star seal. And he said, this was yours in Atlantean times. You were a high priest in Atlantis. It's for you to find out the rest of your pathway, but this is going to be your trajectory. This is where you are going. You are also going to be responsible for assisting on a high level with the ascension process as and when it occurs. And then the most frustrating part about it was I got very excited about this, the blue star seal. I just wanted to share it. He said, you can't tell anybody. I'll let you know when it's cool, kind of thing. And so I had to, the only person I could share that information with was Diana Cooper. I actually went to her and I said, look, I've received this. And I had this communication with Archangel Michael. Is it legitimate? And she said, yes, I can literally see it shining from your fields. This is the real deal, kind of thing. So I had to then sit on that information for 4 years. Wow. And then all of a sudden, on the other side of the cosmic moment, when the planetary frequency began to rise, everything started to kind of roll into motion. I was told I could release that information. It's August 2013. I think it was, so 5 years after I received it. And so that was the first kind of insight into who I had been, or where, or what level I was working at on a soul level. And I loved how you described kind of the changing of the guides, because that's exactly how I experienced it as well. All of a sudden, I'm stopping working with an allocated team of guys, and I'm communing directly with ascended masters and people that we know or maybe don't know. And I'd describe my team very much as spiritual military. There's not a lot of mercy with my team, and there's a lot of ribbing, a lot of kind of banter, but at the end of the day, they want a job done, and they want it done precisely, they want it done effectively, and they want it done when they say they want it done. So it's very much got that energy moving with that. And so yes, I see myself regularly sitting, particularly with the Intergalactic Council, the Earth Council, the Atlantean Council, privy to a lot of what is going on, but also given what I need to know on a need-to-know basis. So, it will be dropped in my lap the night before an event, or maybe even on the day, the information that I'm imparting and using, which can be a little bit frustrating, but I'm getting used to it now. So it's an interesting flow.
And it's such a place of trust that you have to come from, because I'm sure over the years, when amazing experiences like this, they are so real, but then you kind of dip into doubt and you think, am I just imagining this? Is this real? And now I don't question any of it. When you're in such a place of resonance and trust with your heart, it's doubt has no place anymore. So
it doesn't.
Things that I, a few years ago, would have thought they're a crazy person. I'm now that crazy person. I just think, this is just my life now. This is just, I'm on mission. Yeah, like you say, it's like, I love how you describe them as, your guides as the military.
They really
we're
are.
not here to mess about.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
No, they do
we are
not
on
mess
mission.
about. There's time for, there's downtime and there's humor, but most of it is like, right, this is a fast moving process. We have targets, we have protocols that must be adhered to. Everything has to go in a certain direction, carrying a certain energy, because the outcome of it is incredibly important. And I think a lot of people are feeling that pressure as well, because anybody who's involved with this Earth process and the speed that it's moving will be well aware of the fact that when we get something like an Ascension gateway coming up, like the solstice or the upcoming Lion's Gate, what's occurring is planetary change. And it's the level of responsibility that we now hold it's planetary, it's global, and everybody is required to be putting their heart into this, on whatever level of you know, whatever level of kind of communication that they're involved with, or however they are applying themselves to the ascension process, everything matters. Everything is absolute, but it's imperative that that we are in alignment with what we are doing with each other. And this is what can be so frustrating about what comes out of the 3D matrix, as everything is designed to distract. Everything is designed to knock us out of that heart-centeredness, that unity, create division, create anger. You know, but for those of us in the know that have kind of been observing this from a higher perspective for a while now, it is pretty comical what's going on. You can see it all occurring, and it's like, oh, come on.
Absolutely.
You've rinsed that one 3 times now.
Absolutely.
People aren't falling for it anymore.
Yeah. And I think when you can be in that place of remembering that although it's hugely serious, the mission that we're on, we have to stay in that place of humour. And it is comical in so many ways. And I interviewed this beautiful soul yesterday at the podcast episode's releasing tomorrow, this Friday. She talked about the weapons of mass distraction. I love that. Because that's exactly what it is. So Emma Goodwin, thank you for that. I'm going to coin that term frequently now. You touched on the heart there, and I know that you recently visited what I consider to be the heart chakra of the planet, Glastonbury, and these incredible Avalonian frequencies. And this has all been very new in my awakening process, Tim, to remember the Avalonian frequencies. It's only been the last couple of years that I've really started to experience that for myself. I was lucky enough to visit Glastonbury for my first, not my only time, last year in this incarnation. So you mentioned Archangel Michael, and we've got St. Michael's Tower, the Tor, on the top of the Tor. And you've got this beautiful connection with Merlin as well. What does Glastonbury and the Avalonian frequencies mean to you? Because you do a lot of work there, don't you?
It's everything. I mean, as you kind of like rightly stated, Avalon is the heart center of the planet. So it's quite funny, because over the years or the decades, I mean, it's always been powerful there, but I mean, now the frequency's off the charts. When anything comes in from the cosmos, especially if it's heart centered, if it's coming in from the cosmic heart, it connects like a lightning rod into the Tor and gets distributed into the ley system surrounding Glastonbury. And the ley network is designed to amplify those energies and distribute them to all of the other sacred sites, portals, points, chakras of the planet. It's basically like visiting it is like sticking your finger in the plug and holding it there. So lots of people go there. Oh, I'm off to Glastonbury. It's going to be such a wonderful sacred pilgrimage. And they're there for 2 or 3 weeks and literally walk out with their hair standing on end with soot all over them. And they have the most gorgeous, beautiful time, and the experiences are incredible. But what I see happening again and again is the integration. You have to take time to integrate when you've been there, especially if you've been there on a spiritual mission to do work, because it is such a powerful place to be.
It really is. It really is. And I'll never forget the visit that I had with my husband last year. And as I say, I can't wait to go back, because it's such an incredible place. And the visions that I received there were just, and the divine synchronicities as well. I could talk for another hour just about those, but I won't. Because I'd love to invite you back sometime, Tim, to come on my podcast again. It would be amazing, because as I say, there is so much I want to ask and, you know, explore further with you. And
anytime, Kelly, definitely.
I'm so grateful for your time today, because I know how super busy you are and how in demand you are, you know, on all levels of reality.
Oh, bless you. Thank you.
So I'd love just to finish up, Tim, by giving my thanks to you again. And can you please just share with people how we know that they can find you on YouTube?
Yeah.
But if anybody's interested, you do lots of beautiful writings in your newsletter. So you've got a website and you've got workshops coming up. You've mentioned the Lionsgate portal is going to be a biggie.
Oh, it's going to be massive.
How would you invite people to come in, drop in to work with you?
Right, I'm available on www.timwild.com. That's my official website, but I'm also on Facebook, Tim Wild Practical Ascension, and that's about the limit of my social media. I used to be on Instagram, but it all got a little bit much. So Facebook, YouTube, good old interweb, timwild.com, and yeah, I do a lot. The information that I put out through Facebook also goes to YouTube, so that's the same as Monday and Fridays, the updates. And then I've got Zoom online events, and a lot of those are collaborations with the wonderful souls that I'm working with. But I've also got live events. I started traveling again last year, and I'm off to Denmark in October, then Germany in November. It's yeah, it's a busy time. I'm loving it. But I'm going to be in Wales near Glastonbury on the 17th of August with Louisa Alton, because we are working on the Heart Centre for Humanity, which is going to be great.
Amazing, amazing. Tim, thank you so much for coming on today and for being so generous with your time and your
Kelly, it's been a
energy
pleasure, my lovely.
and
Thank
your
you.
love. And we'll see you hopefully sometime soon. Lots of
Definitely.
love.
Lots
Thanks
of
everyone for tuning in.
bye for now.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Soul Call with Kelly B today. If this episode spoke to your heart, I'd be so grateful if you'd take a moment to like, subscribe, or share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your support truly means the world, and it helps this message ripple even further. And if you're feeling called to explore more of my work, my latest offerings, sessions, and ways to connect are all in the show notes below. I would love to hear from you. Until next time, keep listening to your beautiful soul. With so much love, Kelly.